Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily Dvar. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Wednesday, the 8th day of August. Here we go. So you're probably familiar with the rule that whenever you make hamotzi at the beginning of a meal, that bread bracha covers for all of the meal, and therefore the drinks and stuff that you have during the meal don't require any bracha. Now that's because in the general way of eating, the way that Torah views it, bread is often the main substance, and it was often the sandwich that held together the meat, etc. And even if you're not eating your meal in sandwich fashion, still the bread is considered the main. Its bracha kind of covers for everything else, and therefore no other brachas are necessary. Where it gets interesting is when you have things like dessert. See, dessert is not really officially part of the meal, according to halacha. You eat dessert often after you've finished your meal. You're full. You're just kind of eating dessert because it's there, it's tasty, and it's fun, but it's not really part of the meal. Because it's not part of the meal, it's not really being eaten with the bread, so the bracha that you made on the bread may not cover for that dessert. And therefore, the rabbis have widely varying opinions as to whether you should or should not be making separate brachas on your desserts. Now, when you're having something like cake in your dessert, most of the rabbis are not so quick to tell you to make a bracha on that cake dessert, because that is so similar to the substance of what you're eating with the bread that they consider it, a lot of rabbis consider it still part of the meal and not really needing its own bracha. But when you get into things like fruit at dessert, that's not eaten with bread, and that's very distinct and separate from the meal, and therefore there are rabbis that say that when you have desserts like fruit and or bananas and pineapples, which are ha'adama in their bracha, that those things would need their own separate brachas, but not all rabbis agree. Some rabbis even say that brachas are necessary on desserts like ice cream that are shehakal, because they are separate from the meal, they're not eaten with bread. You never have an ice cream. Well, that's interesting. You do have ice cream sandwiches, so I take that back, but not with bread is the key. So, bottom line is you should discuss this with your rabbi, and you should set up a pattern for your life as to whether or not you should be or should not be. I could tell you, but there's so many opinions from rabbis way greater than myself that I would like you to discuss this with your own rabbi so he can help you decide whether you should or should not be making brachos on your desserts when you have made a hamotzi at the beginning of the meal. Thanks for logging on. Log on again tomorrow for more. Bye-bye.